Alright YouTubers, here we go. We've got a little 50 caliber ammo can wood burning stove project. And as you can see, I've burned it in at least once already. That's what the front looks like. Be another side view of it. Really worked well. Not sure if you can see inside, but I've got a grate, and I'm not sure, maybe I can get some light into it. I've got a little dampener plate in there. I've got the flue cut out. I don't know if you can really see that. Put a little fire grate down at the bottom, some expansion metal. Got a little door that swings closed. Latches like so. Got the flue. My wife actually came up with the idea for these little ridge pieces right here, but I can close everything off. Actually, it doesn't have to go quite that far. I can close it off there. I can slide it open it all up. That dampener that's in there comes up to the side. Comes up about 5.5 inches. Stops right about here. It's a horseshoe bent piece of metal that comes up and over and around just far enough to reach the base of the flue that I've got stuck in here. Seems to work pretty good. As you see, I fired it up yesterday. You can tell where I burned it in. It's a reducer from a 4 to a 3-inch stovepipe. Fits right in there like so. That's just a 3-foot piece that's going in there. These are 10-inch bolts that I put in there, nut and bolts at the bottom. Really does tend to work out pretty slick. Just to give you an overall idea of the height from the base of that, stands about 15 inches tall. Again, it's just a 50 caliber ammo can. It's about 5.5, almost 6 inches wide, give or take a little bit. And that's a pretty good estimate. Maybe 5 3/4 inches wide. So really, they're not that big. I've seen a lot of these on the internet, so I decided I would build one too. And that's what she looks like. All standing up. I've left the handle on the bottom. That way, I've got a easier way to carry it. And I've done all this with just some 10 or 20 gauge sheet metal. I did put a full pretty thick piece on the top right here. I am going to take it back apart, and then I think I'll put some sealant down up in here. Just a little bit of smoke came out of it yesterday when I was testing it out, but other than that, it seemed to work pretty good. I'll be back in a minute once we get it fired up. Okay, and here we are in the backyard, getting ready to fire up the 50 caliber ammo can wood burning stove. And you can see down inside there that I've gotten some cotton balls stuck in there. And what else I've done is I have a solo camp stove, and as a result I keep some dry twigs that fall out of my tree all the time available and ready to go, and I'm going to use these as the initial fire starters on this. So I've laid down some wood stakes that you can buy in bundles at any of the hardware stores, and I set those across the bottom on top of the grating. So I'm going to throw down a few of these smaller sticks just to get the fire started with, such as this. Oop, I forgot I put that dampener in there so that we can create more of a convection oven type scenario. The cotton balls should work pretty good. Worked yesterday when we started it up for the first time. I did not coat them in Vaseline. I just went with straight cotton balls. They're dense enough to start a pretty good fire on their own. If we were out in the bush, I'd definitely want them to have some Vaseline and such on it. Just makes it a whole lot easier to get your fire started and then keep it going. And I learned that particular trick off of another YouTuber. In this particular case, we're going to use the trusty lighter. If we were out in the boondocks or in a survival scenario, obviously we'd use flint and steel. Little magnesium. Can you see the fire starting in there? You can just see it starting to, cotton balls are taking those little twigs. We'll feed quite a few more in there. Just like we said, to get this fire started. It's pretty windy today. Wind's blowing about 15, probably gusting up to about 25 out here. We live in the country. We have a small neighborhood, but we sit on the end of a farm field. So hopefully nobody will call, neighbors won't call the police. And you can see that in there. Excuse my fingers. But you can see the flames starting to pick up and take off in there. I'm going to go ahead and close the door and let the flue do its job down here. I've got this open already. And we'll just give that a minute and see what it does. Kind of hard to tell out here. You can tell we've got smoke coming out of the top of the flue now. I'll eventually build a rain cap and a spark arrestor for that. I just haven't gotten that far yet. And we'll be back in a few minutes when she's up and running and hotter than heck. Okay, as you can tell, we got a little bit of a fire going here. I've used some wet wood that's been sitting outside by my fire pit, and it's been raining for, God, 2 months. Seems like. When she's up and running, I've spit on the top. Water has just rolled right off. Now what I've got is my Coleman Max camping thing. And we have 24 ounces of water. We're just going to see if we can boil some water here right quick.